Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. As I record this video, the Christmas Ornament Challenge is in full swing. Submissions are coming in. I invite you to put in your favorite Christmas ornament. Whether or not you think it is fantastic, others may think it's fantastic anyway. So please, just take a picture and put it in at ornamentchallenge.com and let us share some of this Christmas spirit in this season. For this video, I'm going to laminate wood into a herringbone pattern. So the bodies here came from the same blank, which is glued up in layers of alternating woods. In this case, I paired it with a hazelnut for a finial, which I think complements it quite nicely. In this case, I did an experiment and I used an acrylic pen blanks for the finial, which, by the way, I don't recommend because I'll explain that in the video. But let's go ahead and add these to join those that you will be putting into the Christmas Ornament Challenge. I decided to create a herringbone block after Rebecca's presentation at the Woodturners Worldwide Online Symposium. She used old skateboard boards with interesting layers. However, I do not have any discarded skateboards, and even then, do not want to deal with the curved plywood. So I decided to use hardwoods, purple heart, maple, and walnut. Each little piece is 1.5 by 2.5 by 0.25. The 1/4 inch end was a bit small to glue to, so I glued on a piece of scrap to the first square. As you will notice later, I glued it with a slight overhang. The overhang will be sanded off later. The overhang ensures that when I go to sand the next surface flush, that only the small bit of overhang has to be sanded off. After the glue dries, sand off the overhang to be flush and square. A good disc sander does a great job at this. Next, glue on the next piece to the newly sanded and flushed surface, making sure there is a slight overhang. Again, sand off the overhang after the glue has dried. I did not wait for the glue to fully cure. I did wait enough for it to grab well. Since my shop is a little cool now, I waited 15 minutes, then scraped off any squeeze out where I will be sanding, so that the glue does not build up in my sanding disc. Repeat for the next piece. Again and again for each piece. Resist the temptation to glue 2 on at once. I can almost guarantee frustration. Continue until the blank grows to the size needed, or beyond. Clamping becomes a creative exercise as good clamping surfaces tend to drift away. I started clamping to the previous ends of the boards. For this glue-up, the same species of wood is on both sides, giving a continuous line of wood. An alternative is to make sure the species do not directly line up. I think alternating may be a more interesting glue blank. Now I let the glue dry a couple of days for the glue to be totally solid and the moisture content to stabilize after so much moisture from the glue. My blank is wider than it is thick. I marked appropriate lines so I could saw off the excess. A little more trimming at the bandsaw and my wood is ready to use. But I did not discard the offcuts. I will use them later for another ornament. Now the wood is mounted to the lathe between centers. I rough it to round with my bowl gouge. The only thing that I'm worried about is chip out due to wild grain orientation. So I'm being a bit less aggressive with my gouge. I also cut a tenon on both ends. Then part the wood at desired lengths for my ornaments. Next, mount the wood into the chuck jaws. From this position, I can drill a 1/4 inch hole through my ornament. Why 1/4 inch? Well, 1/4 inch is a common size for a pen arbor. I would prefer a 3/8 inch hole for the finial. This size is easier to hold on to with the chuck jaws that I have. I'll have to figure out some spacers to make up the difference. I've transferred the wood onto a pen mandrel. I have bushings I turned from high-density polyethylene and a couple of spacers turned from scrap wood to fill the length of the center shaft. The spacers enabled me to tighten the screws that hold it all together. With the wood on the mandrel, I can shape my ornament. In this case, I want an oval shape to the ornament body. Once the shape is ready, I can sand it up through the grits. After the sanding, I'm applying shellac friction polish and rubbing it in at high speed. I will also buff the surface later. For the finial, I have a hazelnut sucker that I pruned a couple of years ago. I mount it between centers to tool off the bark to a uniform round shape. Of course, I need tenons so that I can remount it. With the wood now mounted in a chuck, I am shaping the top finial first. The hardest part is to accurately turn the tenon to the correct diameter. I like short top finials, and this top finial is fairly plain. The one complicator is the hanger hole. I will drill that later. For now, I want to continue while the wood is still mounted in the chuck. Because I have the spindle supported with the live center, I am comfortable cutting back the diameter and particularly the mounting tenon. If unsupported, I would not dare cut back the tenon area at this point. Then on to form a simple tenon. I do not like sharp points for ornaments that may be handled by children. For similar reasons, I do not want extremely thin diameters. Yet the finial needs to be slim and light. This is a balancing act. After sanding, I decided to burn lines to add contrast to the very white wood. Then trim the tenon to final diameter and, very carefully with my skew, cut off the end near the live center. I have not separated it from the tenon side. Therefore, I can apply shellac friction polish and buff it at high speed. Then part off the finial at the tenon. Now to finish up that top finial, I need to drill for the hanger, sand, and apply finish. No sweat. I turned a second ornament from the other portion, but used an acrylic pen blank for the finial. The finial was a mistake. When turned as a pen, the brass tube in the middle gives the acrylic strength. When turned as a finial, my finial shattered, and which forced a design opportunity. I did salvage it as a shorter version. All in all, I like the herringbone pattern. There are other similar patterns to try out also. It is a lot of work to glue up a blank, but it does yield a unique wood pattern. I'm going to try another pattern for contrast. Be sure to send in your ornament picture for the ornament challenge before November 30. Meanwhile, explore the great ornaments already submitted. They are great ornaments from simple to complex. Check them out. There are already some I want to try. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends. I appreciate your comments and questions. Every week, I make a new wood turning video and add it to my website. As usual, I appeal for you to wear your full face shield for safety anytime the lathe is running. I will see you next week with another wood turning video.